Well, welcome in. Here we go. Sixth episode, the final one for this season, a limited series. Head for the Hills. It's an FYI podcast built for Story Studio Network by Eye Contact Productions. And I'm here, Dave Trafford with Glenn Crowder. And we should probably note that, yes, this is the final episode of this season, Glenn, but we've already got people lined up who want to get involved in the show next winter. So I hope you've got plans to be back on the hills next winter.
No, there's no question, Dave. It's been really well received. Even on the hills, I hear people talking about it. And whenever I get on a chairlift, they say, what are you doing? Well, I do this and this. I write for the Sun, Newstalk 1010. And we have a fantastic ski podcast, Head for the Hills. So it's getting good reception, and it's great.
So one of the groups that is lined up, that they're already signed up for next season, are the folks at eWool. And they've been good enough to sponsor this segment for us as we launched this new project. So it's been great. So if you want to check out their product, it's pretty extraordinary stuff. Go to their website, ewool.com. Turn on the heat. Keep the fun going. All right. So here in this part of the world, you often say, I hear you say, we're going to run out of skiers before we run out of snow. So across the country, though, not quite the case. We've got different conditions. We've got different lengths of seasons. So we want to let folks know that if here in Ontario, things are kind of winding down, that in fact there are spots across the country where, you might want to go and spend some time and spend some of your saved up dollars over the pandemic. One of the places would be British Columbia, of course. You were out there, I guess it was, 2 weeks ago?
Last week, okay.
Last week. It feels like you were out there for a good stretch.
Yes.
Sabrina Robson is at Destination BC and joins us this morning, and we're calling you relatively early, so we appreciate your getting up and doing this, Sabrina.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
So Glenn came back and he was all aglow in a Twitter and a giddy about all of the great stuff that's going on at British Columbia. The conditions were excellent, but he said, and I think we were talking to Britt Janik last week, and this whole idea that there's this sense of exhalation where people can finally be comfortable getting back into what looks like a routine after so many, months, 2 years now of being shut in, shut down, and more than hesitant about our social activity. Do you get a sense of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's certainly a lot of excitement and optimism with last week's announcement, effective March 11th. Wearing masks in indoor public spaces isn't required. The vaccine card program will remain in effect until April 8th, but after that, it'll be relaxed. I think there's lots of positive indicators, and we've had some great spring skiing conditions as well, which certainly doesn't hurt.
Sabrina, it's Glenn Crowder here. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. And Sabrina, I was out, as you know, and you organized that along with Steve Ogden, which was a fantastic itinerary. Sun Peaks first and then to Whistler. I talk about a dream 12, 13 days. You put ahead for us. We certainly did a lot of work on Newstalk 1010, wrote a couple of stories in the Toronto Sun, and of course in the podcast here. First of all, I am totally amazed. When I was flying out to British Columbia, I was looking through the BC directory, how many ski resorts you actually have. People think of BC and Whistler, and deservedly so, but you also have so many other areas and so many other ski resorts just in the province itself.
Absolutely. Yeah, BC has 13 destination ski resorts, and it's, spread across 10 mountain ranges. And that's not even to mention the incredible, community ski resorts that are kind of along the way. So there's certainly a lot of variety, but all across the province.
So I've had the opportunity to ski some parts of the world, and I keep on saying you do not need to leave our country. I'm not being a patriot here, but certainly when it comes to skiing, there is no question that we have some of the best, not only skiing and conditions, but also scenery that you're ever going to see anywhere in the world.
Absolutely. I mean, there's just so much varied terrain. BC is definitely known for having its big mountains, but there's so much great approachable skiing, amazing tree skiing, and a real variety all throughout the province. And really, the road trips, a lot of them are connected so easily. It's easy to combine a couple resorts in one vacation, which I think is something really special that we have, from the Powder Highway in the Kootenay Rockies, where, you've got 8 ski resorts connected with hot springs kind of sprinkled all throughout the trip to even just, as you say, how accessible Whistler Blackcomb is, 2 hours from Vancouver, or our interior ski resorts, where you have Sun Peaks, Big White, and Silver Star that are all within an hour and a half drive of an airport.
Have you found anything surprising this year? I know Dave mentioned about the exhale, the people finally getting a chance to live like we had 2 years ago. Has there been anything, what we've noticed here in Ontario, the reason why I'm getting at this, the beginners, we have a whole new crew of beginners coming out to Ontario resorts. Matter of fact, they're making plans to build extra chalets for them, dedicate certain areas of ski resorts strictly for them. Have you found that so much in British Columbia as well?
You know what, I would echo that. I think there's certainly, just with everything that we've been through these past few years, I think there's been a real push for people to, want to spend more time outside and in nature. And so we're certainly seeing more people taking up skiing, which is really exciting. And I just want to emphasize again, I think there's certainly something for everyone here in terms of terrain. We do have those kind of big mountain terrain experiences, but also some really amazing approachable, ski terrain for people that are just getting into it. And one example, Revelstoke Mountain Resort in the Kootenay Rockies there, which has the most vertical in North America. Last year, they actually expanded their beginner terrain. So they have a new chairlift there that's created a new 6 new runs that are beginner and intermediate. So really wanting to give more options for people that are, maybe just getting into skiing, or maybe just revisiting it after a while. So
Sabrina, I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people think when I talk about big mountains and how spectacular it is, and the scenery and the pictures that I post on Facebook and on newstalk1010.com as well, is that they see these humongous mountains and they go, oh my goodness, I'm just a beginner. But when you go to Whistler, they have their own dedicated area, the Olympic Station. When you go to Blackcomb, just a quick little jaunt right across the other side of the mountain, they've got their own station as well. So I'm certainly glad to hear you mention about the fact that beginners, people that really aren't, the double diamond skiers, the cliff jumpers, that they can still really enjoy themselves. And what I've always said is, we have small, short runs here, but you've got miles and miles of runs that you can really enjoy and get your mojo on. And that's what I really think is so fantastic about beginning and learning and intermediate skiing in the mountains as well.
Oh, absolutely. And just what a treat it is to be in that mountain environment, and not to mention, I think spring is such a fabulous time to take a ski vacation, because there's so much happening at these resorts in terms of, activities as they kind of wrap up the season. There's, and as we were saying earlier, with things kind of opening up, we're seeing the return of live music and of end of season events, like, for example, Fernie Alpine Resort, again in the Kootenay Rockies they're having their Furnival Festival return after a few years on hiatus, and they're celebrating 60 years of skiing at the resort. So it'll be live music and, events and a beer garden. There's so much more going on to kind of round out a vacation.
Sabrina, just one more question before we let you go here. We're running out of snow here in Ontario. Not so much snow, we're running out of skiers. We finish our season pretty well this weekend, and then one more weekend after that, and that's basically it. Tell us a little bit about how long we can ski in British Columbia.
Yeah, absolutely. So things might be winding down out in Ontario, but we certainly have another at least few weeks, 2-3 weeks of great skiing out here in BC. A lot of the resorts in the Kootenay Rockies are wrapping up around April 17th. Fernie actually just announced yesterday that it's extending its season by an extra week, so that will be closing on April 17th. But, in Whistler Blackcomb, for instance, they have one of the longest seasons in North America, where you can ski right through till May 23rd.
That's phenomenal.
Well, a great way to spend the Victoria Day weekend out on the slopes, I guess. That's, we're here. We're thinking about going to the beach and popping a beer or two. Sabrina, thanks for joining us, and good luck with the long spring season.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I can only imagine that season being stretched out till May. And this year, again in British Columbia, being what we've had over the last couple of years. My guess is that you might, I know you keep saying we'll run out of skiers, but I think you might have a lot of folks who have some pent up skiing in them that they're going to want to go out to British Columbia.
Well, not to mention British Columbia, but also Banff as well. And there's so many other places you can enjoy in this country. And when I was out in BC just a couple of weeks ago to see the snow, and people don't realize that the levels where you start is 600 feet. You go up to 7,500, 8,000 feet above sea level. So that's where the real snow is. And that's why the snow takes a long time to melt. And as I mentioned before, you have 3 levels of skiing. At the top is the powder, middle is a little bit more sugar snow, then down below is the actual spring snow, like they call the mashed potatoes. So there's no question. And, Banff area is that as well. You've got lots of opportunity to ski. They've got extended ski season as well. And that's why we want to bring on our next gentleman.
Yeah, David Seidel is the marketing coordinator and event supervisor at Sunshine Ski Banff, joining us this morning. How are you, David?
I'm fantastic. How are you guys?
I'm okay. I have not been to Whistler, but I did get a chance to get out and visit Banff one year to visit my uncle when he was living in Calgary. And I was just, to talk about, from this part of the country, we like to think that, parts of northern Ontario and Agawam Canyon are pretty picturesque. Nothing compared to what you guys open your doors to every morning.
No, not at all. Yeah, we're definitely blessed with what we have going on over here.
David, it's Glenn Crowder here. Thank you very much for joining us. I had the pleasure of skiing Banff, obviously Sunshine as well. At the beginning of the season, I went out for the World Cup down here at Lake Louise. And once again, thanks to Cantor Scurfield and everyone there, it's just a treat to go out to Banff to ski. And we wanted to bring you on because you're from Sunshine Village and you've got some great things coming up. We'll talk about the extended season you're going to have as well, because again, in Ontario, we're running out of skiers rather than running out of snow. But at the same time, your season continues, which is a marvelous, and some great events coming up as well.
Yeah, exactly. As you mentioned, our elevation here at Sunshine Village really helps us to keep going quite a bit longer. So
what is your top elevation?
Our top elevation is just around 9,000 feet. So
wow.
And the village sits at 7,200 feet. So that allows us to go all the way to the May long weekend, so May 23rd this year.
And you got something special coming up towards the end of the season or at the end of the season?
Yeah, exactly. We're excited to bring back Slush Cup with the return to events and kind of, things going back to normal this time. We're bringing back Slush Cup, which is our big year-end event with a big pond skim and a big party. And we have weekly concerts starting in April every weekend. A few freestyle snowboard events coming up and a lot of other fun stuff.
David, what I really appreciate when I go to certain resorts is that I love the ski in and ski out. Banff is a wonderful place to visit, but there is no ski in and ski out except if you go to the Mid-Mountain Lodge that you have at Sunshine, which is absolutely fantastic. And I've had the pleasure of staying there before, but that is the only ski in and ski out hotel, lodge, resort that you have in the entire Banff. Tell us a little bit about that hotel.
Yeah, so Sunshine Mountain Lodge, so that's right in our village, sitting at 7,200 feet, as I mentioned before. It's an 84-room boutique hotel. So you get the advantage of waking up and you're walking, 10 meters to the chairlift. So it makes the morning commute to the lift super easy.
And what's so cool is that you get on to get there, you have a special parking at the bottom because Sunshine is so unique because you have to take a gondola to get up to the first part of the hills, which is fantastic because that's a great ride in itself. It's spectacular. The scenery is amazing. So you get on the gondola, you park in the parking lot, and then you line up to get onto the gondola and you go up. And then if you're staying overnight, you get a certain area where you go to and they take care of your bags and then you get on a gondola and go up yourself. So it's such a great treat for families. And the reason why I'm saying this because families love rides and things. And this is a wonderful opportunity to get a good peek at Sunshine as you go up the gondola.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, David, when we talk about sort of the effects of COVID, and everybody who's been on the show, we've kind of walked through that. And in some cases, there are resorts that had to make adjustments to whatever their routines were, whatever their sign up was, however they were going to manage crowds. And some of that's hanging around because it's I guess it's done two things. First, it's appealed to people who might be a little bit hesitant and still a little worried, but also it's made things more efficient. Have you found that at Banff?
Yeah, definitely. We've been able to kind of optimize certain experiences for our guests because of COVID. It kind of opened our eyes, right? So one big thing that's kind of sticking around for us, because in Alberta, all the COVID restrictions have been lifted right now. So, but the one thing that's kind of sticking around is our expanded dining opportunities, especially outdoors, right? With last season and earlier this season, we had to, expand the areas for people to eat, which meant eating outdoors in the middle of December when it's, quite cold out. And people were more than happy to do that. And, especially now with spring coming around and the sun out, people, that's their first choice now, place to eat. So,
yeah. Well, and that's that strikes me as that's sort of more about our hardy Canadian spirit that perhaps we underestimated how much we would have embraced that kind of thing. David, thanks for getting up early and talking to us this morning.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much, David.
See, it's not surprising to me, Glenn, that we're beginning to hear that the things that they're adding on at the resorts is the outdoor experience, right? I mean, it was always promoted as you can come into this beautiful lodge and sit by the fire and après-ski and all that stuff. It didn't really surprise me to hear that Canadians, or just generally folks who like to be outdoors, were quite happy to have a meal outdoors. Make it comfortable for sure, but still, I think that's a real added bonus to any of these resort experiences now.
Well, a lot of resorts have spent a lot of money on their patios and their barbecue pits and things like that. And keep in mind as well, the last 2 years, we've been eating in our cars. We've been changing in our cars. Basically, our vehicle has been our chalet, our locker room, our restaurant. So now all of a sudden, people have that opportunity to not only sit outside, to be, have a drink outside, have something to eat outside. And it's just absolutely fantastic. And when I was at Horseshoe Valley this past weekend, JR's done a great job with his patio, and it was packed. There was a lot of people just having fun. It was a horrible weekend for weather, but nevertheless, it just shows that people are finally, we're social creatures. We want to get out. We don't want to be sitting in a parking lot and eating our meals and things, even though we want to ski and have that opportunity. So you're right, absolutely. People really want to get outside, and there's another perfect example coming up with Blue Mountain this weekend. Well,
and we should just say that if, in fact, you're a little worried about the wind chill or whatever, that would be the perfect opportunity to make sure the batteries are charged up on your E-wool vest. Just
How true.
Right? So that we...
And the gloves, too. Don't forget the gloves.
Yeah. And it's at that stage, then it keeps you comfortable and being able to manage even maybe a bit of a bite in the wind. So if you want more information about our friends at eWool, go to their website, ewool.com. All right, back to Blue Mountain. And I know that the last time we talked about Blue Mountain, they had the 24 Hours of Blue. And so that was, I gather, was a grand event. Tara Lovell is here from Blue Mountain this morning. How are you?
I am great. I'm looking outside at what I think it's going to be another bluebird day. This spring is shaping up well.
Wow, because we here in Toronto, fog. You can barely see across the across the street. So just fill us in on how 24 Hours of Blue went.
Oh, it was great. It was a great event. We were pretty fortunate. You kind of roll the dice in February with particularly night events with how cold it's going to be. But it was a clear night, and the lifts kept turning, the skiers kept skiing, all for great causes. It turned out really well. And so we kind of taken that idea and moved it into an upcoming event that we're excited about too, in support of Protect Our Winters.
Oh, cool. So it would be a 24-hour event again?
Not full 24 hours. We're trying to just let people sleep a little bit, but just till bed. So the event's called Shred Till Bed, and it's got an interesting backstory, the name of the event. We initially... so you may recall that ski resorts shut down a couple of times during the pandemic. And the last shutdown that we experienced, the operations team kind of last minute rallied together and said, you know what, if we have until midnight, let's go till midnight. And they kept the lifts turning on that last day before we had another provincial shutdown until midnight. So 3 hours longer than we normally would have, as in kind of like solidarity of the skier community to keep the lifts going. It was well attended. The operations team was, enthusiastic about staying on an extra few hours. So we're taking that, bringing it back. And normally at Blue Mountain, the last night for night skiing is the last day of March break. So we're coming up to that on March 20th. And so we're going to go right till the bitter end with Shred Till Bed on March 20th. It's a Sunday in support of Protect Our Winters. So the Silver Bullet lift will be turning 3 hours later than it normally would. So it'll go from 9 till midnight after closing. And all you need to attend is a valid season pass or lift ticket for March the 20th. And we're asking all of the skiers and riders who join us to support Protect Our Winters. We all in the ski community want to see winters stick around, but also be as long as possible. Protect Our Winters is an organization that advocates for climate change action. And what they need more than anything is membership so that their voice, when they're lobbying and advocating for action on a greater, more macro scale, is as loud as possible. And so we're inviting skiers and riders to join their membership. And if they choose to, also make a donation online. And that's all they need to do. And then just join us and celebrate winter on the slopes.
How do they donate online? Tara, is there a certain number or is there a certain email?
So if you go to bluemountain.ca, there is an event page for Shred Till Bed, and right on that page are 2 links. You can join Protect Our Winters as a member with POW Canada, or that's the acronym for Protect Our Winters, or donate to POW directly. So both those links are on bluemountain.ca. And so it's kind of great. I know people who who love this time of year and skiing right till the bitter end are going to love it. The other good news, which is kind of in there, doesn't support the event, we have decided to extend night skiing. So as long as conditions allow, we'll keep night skiing even after March break on the weekend. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as long as Mother Nature agrees.
As far as your conditions are concerned, right now, pretty good still?
Yeah, we still have, so today we have 34 trails open. I know tomorrow looks like a pretty warm spring day, which is great for après, great for being on the deck like we were talking about. It doesn't help conditions stick around, but right now we still have 100 centimeter average base on those open trails. And I know the team does this kind of dance as the season turns, where we navigate where we need to keep snow, where we need to push snow, where we should leave the snow, because every time we groom it, it still depletes certain amounts of snow. And then we kind of taper the resort to the more central part towards the village as we reduce terrain. We'll play that game for a little bit with Mother Nature and see how far into the spring we can go.
How far do you think you'll be going, Tara?
See, they don't like when I answer those questions.
I know. That's why I thought I'd throw it to you.
Because Tara, the PR manager, says we're going to ski till June. And the operation.
Realistically,
says,
what do you think?
Well, I think we'll get to Easter, so into April.
Wow.
And that's nice, right? It's always kind of nice. And then we do, just from an operational perspective, because Blue Mountain Resort is a 4-season destination, we have to shift gears a bit, getting closer to May 2-4 weekend for Victoria Day weekend, because that's when we typically open up our summer attractions.
Yep.
So the team has to kind of, we'll go as far as we can, but at some point we have to give ourselves enough time to shift gears and get into summer mode.
Tara, good luck with the event, and we'll send people your way to the website to check out Protect Our Winters. I'm new to that cause, so I'm going to want to find out more about it. But sounds like a great idea, and good luck with the event.
Thanks a lot, Tara.
Thanks, guys.
Well, I don't know where those 6 weeks went, but that was fun doing this. So thanks for coaxing me and encouraging me to do this, because I'm glad we were able to connect and hook up, because I so enjoyed the time that we got to spend on the radio. And this is I think it's more focused in terms of what we were doing, and I'm learning a lot. So thanks for including me.
It's great and fantastic, Dave. No, I really appreciate working. You've always been a professional, and you are a true professional. So you're easy to work with, and your daughter, Erin, she's great to work with as well. I just want to mention as we wind up again, as far as Ontario skiing is concerned, we have up till this weekend for sure. A lot of resorts will be closed next week, the week after March break, and they'll open up the final weekend. I know Sir Sam's has their big splash, the 26th. That's when they're going to finish. That's a Saturday, but most resorts will be open 26th and 27th. The exceptions will be Blue Mountain. They'll be open next weekend, and likely Mount St. Louis Moonstone. The others will be closed during the week, so again, opening up the following weekend. And as far as Quebec's concerned, I wanted to thank Alexandra Lemeroux from RCR. She gave me a little note and said Stoneham will be open until April the 10th. St. Anne will be the 24th of April. and also La Massif about the 26th. So lots of time left to ski, not only in Ontario for another week or so, but traveling to BC, Quebec, Alberta. It's great.
Yeah, so this does wrap it up here, but we already know there are people lined up who want to be involved in Head for the Hills come next ski season. So watch this space, and we'll be in it, and we'll let you know when we're back in the podcast mode. I'm Dave Trafford with Glenn Crowder. It's an FYI podcast for Story Studio Network. Head for the Hills is produced by Eye Contact Productions.